The following episode depicts acts of violence and murder. Listener discretion is advised. It's been over 24 years since 26-year-old Eddie Wheeler was gunned down near a Honey Farms parking lot at the corner of Harding Street and Lafayette Street in Worcester's Canal district. It was 1:30 a.m. on December 26, 1998. Eddie was walking down Harding Street with a group of friends when his killer ran up to him, shooting Eddie 4 times in the chest.
Unsolved Worcester is brought to you by the following sponsors. Follow the crowd through the doors of Donut Homies and say hi to Haley Noel, the donut queen of Worcester's Canal District. This month, the specialty donut shop features special flavors like strawberry shortcake and champagne glaze. Donut Homies is open inside the Worcester Public Market at 160 Green Street every Wednesday through Sunday at 11 a.m. Online ordering with delivery and pickup options is available at donuthomies.com. Follow Donut Homies on Facebook and Instagram for monthly menu drops, specials, and more. Donut Homies, everything sweeter with the homies.
Welcome to Unsolved Worcester. I'm your host, Dan Yeager. In today's episode, we stay in Worcester's Canal District and explore the unsolved murder of Eddie Wheeler the day after Christmas in 1998. Eddie was gunned down shortly after what police believe was a verbal altercation inside the former Fester's Doghouse, a bar and nightlife club at 208 Millbury Street in Worcester. Fester's Doghouse opened in November 1993 in the former Tony's Cafe. Before it was Tony's Cafe, the bar was Millbury Street Billiards Club, and long before that, a carpet and flooring warehouse store. The building at 208 Millbury Street is now home to Chef Ho, popular Chinese food establishment. But for Fester's Doghouse, it seemed doomed from the start. In the early morning hours of Saturday, November 20th, 1993, only a few hours after the bar held its grand opening, a 22-year-old man was stabbed to death in the parking lot behind Fester's. Just over 5 years later, the Millbury Street Bar and Live Music Hall would be the starting scene for what would be the end of Eddie Wheeler's young life. Unsolved Worcester will take a deep dive every Tuesday and Thursday into the unsolved murders and missing persons cases under investigation by the Worcester Police Department's Detective Unit. It will be looking to the past, unsolved murders as far back as the early 1950s and 60s. The approach to Unsolved Worcester is this: shine a light on each of these cases, put a life behind each victim's name, provide a timeline of events and important details, and ask questions that still need to be answered. Our goal is to remind residents of the Worcester area, both past and present, that there are dozens of unsolved homicides and missing persons cases that need resolution. We hope we can be the spark needed to solve a case. The rear exit to Fester's Doghouse leads to the building's back parking lot, which faces Harding Street and Crompton Park. It's believed that's the door that Eddie Wheeler exited the bar Christmas night, 1998, following an altercation between a friend of his and another man. According to reports, the bar closed shortly after the argument when Eddie and his friend left the bar. The bar owner, Anthony Zaleski, told the Telegram and Gazette it was only a minor verbal argument and the men left without incident. It's unclear what the argument was about. However, it's believed the whole scuffle started over Eddie's friend accidentally stepping on the other man's foot. Eddie's longtime girlfriend, Melissa Castle, told reporters Eddie got to the bar late that night and was only there long enough for one beer. After being asked to leave, Eddie and his friends exited Fester's at the rear and made a right on Harding Street. The group walked just 2 blocks before Eddie's assailant came running up and fired 4 shots at close range into Eddie's chest with a small caliber pistol. Eddie's killer sprinted away from the scene. His group of friends left on the sidewalk in shock as Eddie continued crossing Harding Street before collapsing in the parking lot of the Honey Farms at the corner of Harding and Lafayette Streets. Castle had planned to pick Eddie up at Honey Farms. While she was driving down Millbury Street, she heard the 4 shots fired, and then found Eddie hunched over, holding his stomach in the Honey Farms parking lot. Castle stopped the car and ran to Eddie. She told Eddie to lay down. By 2 a.m., the police and EMTs had arrived at the parking lot, and Eddie was taken to St. Vincent Hospital. About 4 hours later, Eddie was pronounced dead. Shortly after the shooting of Eddie Wheeler on December 26, 1998, police said they couldn't find the murder weapon and were unable to determine a motive. Eddie's friends told police they didn't believe he was the intended target of the shooting. They described Eddie as a stand-up guy, a peacemaker, and a good person. Anthony Zaleski, the owner of Fester's Dog House, told reporters Eddie wasn't the kind of guy to start a fight, but instead would rather help end a dispute, similar to how it's described Eddie handled the small scuffle at Fester's on Christmas night. The day after Eddie's murder, a candlelight vigil was set up outside Honey Farms, marking the spot where Eddie died. Growing up, Eddie wasn't without his problems. He had dropped out of North High School in the 12th grade. He'd been arrested on domestic assault charges a few years before his death, but by all accounts, Eddie had changed his life. He worked for several years for Bay State Moving Company in Millbury. Eddie lived on Douglas Street with his girlfriend Melissa Castle and her son. The small side street is located in Worcester's Main South neighborhood, situated between Canterbury Street and Cambridge Street. Melissa's son, Freddie, told Unsolved Worcester he's had a dislike for the Christmas season ever since Eddie was killed. Eddie was buried at Hope Cemetery on December 30th, 1998. He left behind a large family including his father, mother, stepmother, and 6 siblings. Even though several witnesses saw Eddie's killer run up to him and fire 4 shots into his chest at the corner of Harding and Lafayette Street early December 26, 1998, police are unable to identify the shooter. Eddie's parents and siblings told reporters they believed the shooting to be gang-related and that the witnesses to Eddie's murder are too afraid to come forward. According to the Telegram and Gazette, Eddie's father, Willie Wheeler, said he was approached by Eddie's friends at Eddie's funeral. The friends said they could take care of it, meaning they would handle finding Eddie's murderer, dealing with him how they saw fit. But Willie Wheeler dismissed their offer, not wanting anyone else to get hurt. The family insisted that Eddie's friends know who killed Eddie, but blindly follow the street's code of silence. In 2008, Willie Wheeler told the Telegram and Gazette that he had heard his son's killer could have been a member of the local Kilby street posse, but that it was just one of the many rumors he had heard in the 10 years following his son's death. As we mentioned in Season 1, it surprises us how little information there is available on some of the more recent unsolved murder cases, and Eddie Wheeler's murder is no exception. Massachusetts state law states the case files are unavailable to us due to investigatory exemption. In other words, the public release of information contained within the records could alert suspects to the investigation's activities. As we mentioned in Season 1, it's up to us to piece it all together, devoting days and weeks of time to finding any piece of information we can to use to tell each victim's story. Thankfully, we were able to dig up one additional small piece of information in our search for answers in Eddie's murder. Just weeks after Eddie was killed, on January 22nd, 1999, a 23-year-old man from Worcester was arrested in Bessemer County, Alabama, on a charge of possession of a firearm. The arrest received just a short write-up in the T&G's Central Mass Digest on January 26, 1999, the week after the arrest was made. Police wouldn't release the name of the man to the T&G. According to the report, the man was wanted in Worcester for possession of cocaine with the intent to distribute within 1,000 feet of a school. Police did tell Central Mass Digest they were looking to speak to the man about Eddie's murder and that they knew he hadn't been in Alabama long. He had left Worcester shortly after Eddie was gunned down in late December. At the time, police were waiting for the man to waive extradition and return to Worcester on warrants. Detectives planned to go to Alabama and bring him back to Worcester. Unfortunately, that's where Eddie's story ends. Christmas Day has come and gone for nearly 25 years now. Eddie's family still waits, waiting for someone to come forward and break their silence and provide a name to Worcester police. If you enjoyed listening to this episode, please consider clicking the like button for us. And if you subscribe, the next episodes will show up in your feed. Click the bell on the right, and you'll get a notification when the next episode is ready. If you have any thoughts you'd like to share, please leave them in the comments below. We do read them all and respond to as many as we can. Thank you for listening. I'm Dan Yeager. Anyone with information about the murder of Eddie Wheeler are asked to contact the Worcester Police Detective Bureau at 508-799-8651 or send an anonymous text to 274-637. Write TIP WPD and your message, or send an anonymous web-based message at worcesterma.gov/police. Come back on Tuesday when Season 2 of Unsolved Worcester continues, when we again return to Millbury Street and look at the unsolved murder of 30-year-old Brian McAllister in May 1987. Brian was shot in the head while he was sitting in his car outside the former Billy's Lounge. Be sure to visit Unsolved Worcester on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Unsolved Worcester. Listen to all episodes for free at unsolvedworcester.com and podcast streaming platforms including Spotify, iTunes, and more. Special thanks to the Worcester Public Library and the Worcester Police Department, the City of Worcester, Ron Scott at New England Sky Picks, and our sponsors for making this possible. Unsolved Worcester podcast music is provided by Tom Lebelzik of the Worcester Jazz Collective. This episode of Unsolved Worcester is written and produced by Pat Sargent. Drone footage provided by New England Sky Picks. Videography and editing by Colin Turner. Victim images are courtesy of the Worcester Police Department. Sponsorship information announcer Chandler Walsh. Be sure to check out the video for this episode with exclusive aerial views and more on our Unsolved Worcester YouTube page. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Don't miss another episode. Click the notification button to get alerts when new episodes of Unsolved Worcester drop. This program is supported in part by a grant from Worcester Arts Council and the National Endowment for the Arts. To find out more about how National Endowment for the Arts grants impact individuals and communities, visit www.arts.gov.